reasoning of the psychological aspect of what I believe currently is because I don't see how crypto wouldn't have dumped when DXY had a clear break of this downwards trend and crypto went up with it, right? I don't think this makes any sense at all. But even just not comparing, obviously indices and everything, my fractal, fractals, which I've been using for about 6 to 8 months now, have been very efficient in terms of predicting where the price is going to move, right? And if it is wrong this time, it would have been the first time it's been wrong in months, right? Months. Um, I'll give a quick little showcase, obviously, of the fractal and show you the market positioning. Just bear with me. I need to get up a chart which shows everything. All right. I'm going to show you the exact same positioning we are in now. So you see, this is what people are comparing now. I'm seeing people on Twitter compare this, right? They are comparing this. They're comparing this breakout, which we had similar to current price action, right? This is what most of Twitter, right? This is 1 year ahead in terms of cycles. We are around mark the top for Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is evidently obviously rejected off that. So we've managed to nail the top based off the price action here. When I was in the long a few weeks back, from 25.9 all the way up to 28K, I believe, I was long because of the fractal. Fractal showed a pump, then a dump back downwards. Same thing again. This dump, which happened, the dump from 28.4, right, all the way down to 24K was shown in the fractal. And now we are around this region right now. We are about fuck my life. Discord disconnected me again. Bear with me. I'm gonna restart.
I was just gonna ask what happened. Okay, good.
Yeah. All right. Wait for everyone to join again. So, okay. So, anyways, like I was saying, in terms of fractals, everybody, well, on Twitter at least, or most people, are calling October, right? So we have this narrative, October, we're going up, right? So we have the obvious narrative of going up. We compare that with DXY, see it's at resistance. So in my terms, it looks too easy to long. It looks way too easy just to long here, right? And obviously fractals, I'm going to compare from the start. I'm going to compare around here. I'll show you the comparison in terms of charts. Where I'm going to compare the exact same PA price action to where we are now. Like this is the exact same PA, same date, same time period, right? This isn't no just me looking at a similarity which I've seen. This is the exact same date and time period where we are now, right? So what can we see of this fractal? We can see impulsive move to the downside, impulsive move to the downside, move around here. This wick was ETF news. So obviously it caused some disruption in the market, but eventually came back down. We see distribution around here, initial wick below here, same thing again, below a wick below the previous lows, impulsive move to the upside. Obviously this time we did not have an impulsive move, but you get the point of how we're going on the same track. We're moving upwards, right? And obviously, around the same date and time period, we can see that off the fractal is showing this slow bleed downwards to around the lows again. And this makes more sense to me than going up to here. Right? It doesn't make sense to go up to here because if we go up to here, we reward the entire narrative. Most people are long, right? Most people are not short. You have the October narrative, you have the logical traders who are long because DXY is rejecting, SPX and Nasdaq are on the trend line. So you have all these logical traders getting into long positions. We can see that from the liquidity that there's still a fuck ton below. We are just playing, well, pretty much pissing everyone off who's in a short by revisiting the upside, right? So obviously using the fractals, we can see the similarities are quite clear, right? We have the move downwards, sideways, sideways, equal lows, wick below, move to the upside, move to the upside. This pump all the way down from 25.2 was seeable on the fractal. So you could have just looked at historical price action, seen that around this region, we would be looking for longs. You would have been able to long the entire move, which we've had right now, just off the fractal. And now that everybody is anticipating a next leg up, I've seen quite a few call for 30K over the weekend and shit, and all this other stuff. I'm seeing all these bullish narratives whilst we haven't really done anything. We are still around the same area of resistance, which, like, we haven't really broken anything, right? We are still in this accumulation range up here. We could see around this region, we stayed in this region for about a week before eventually breaking to the downside. So there is a possibility that we can last in this 27K to 28K region for another week before we actually decide where we're going to go. And I think that's what's going to piss people off most, is because if we're moving sideways, I know for a fact I'm eventually going to probably end up closing my short in profits earlier, even though I'm expecting us to go down to around that 26.5 region eventually, right? So fractals wise, I'm involved in historical price action. I'm seeing the same date, same time period. I'm seeing the similarities between the PA. I'm seeing the narrative is bullish here. The fractal is showing that there's a rejection, and we go revisit the lows. Ethereum is already leading the market near enough. Now, obviously, there's still quite a lot of shorts piled onto Ethereum to the upside, but Ethereum's quite weak in general, right? It's not typically that strong. It did have some momentum around that 1620 region, but other than that, when Ethereum is leading the market, is never really a good sign.
True.
So, comparing Bitcoin to Ethereum, it's like almost Ethereum might get that retest of 1680, right? Like if I flip over to my Ethereum chart, it's very like we can. Where are we? I haven't actually looked at it. Mainly looking at Bitcoin, but we can see here around 1664, around these equal highs. We can see this could be an area of rejection, right? We are having a bit more strength on Ethereum now, which is expected. Obviously, it's because it did have this big move downwards after this major pump. We took out most of the liquidity on Ethereum, but using Bitcoin as confluence here, it's like if Bitcoin isn't done, then Ethereum might just revisit, create another low here before going up, in which that would make Bitcoin be at around that 27K region. And that would wipe out most people. And just in general with Bitcoin, we could see on the 4-hour wick here as well on Bitcoin, this typically was, well, I was asleep, so this was news, I believe. Well, there's some news which happened. We wicked down, took out some liquidity to the downside, pretty much retraced the entire dump and more, and now we are sweeping the highs, right? So there's just a lot like of imbalance here, which is eventually going to get taken out eventually as well. I don't see how this makes any sense, to be honest with you. This looks like a trap. What this gives me the impression, right, that we've swept the lows, and from my perspective, it's like, how can I put this into words? It's like the wick is screaming at me, buy me back when we drop. Buy me, because there's so much demand here. When we revisit the dip, we're just gonna keep bouncing. Buy me. This is so strong. That's the impression this is giving, right? Everybody sees the strength on this wick, and they are all thinking the same thing. They're all thinking, okay, I'm gonna start shorting 28.3, 28.4, right? And you see, if we go back up here, there's probably a good chance we're gonna go even higher, right? So if we're gonna reject, it's gonna be now, in my opinion. We shouldn't go higher than 28.1. If we're going to reject now. If we go higher than 28.1, we are probably going to break above this high. Everybody's going to be crazy euphoric, and then we're just going to have a straight fucking candle to the downside, in my opinion, from around this region if we do go there, because most of this, well, these moves are all driven by futures contracts, right? They are not driven. Well, obviously there is an element of short squeezes, but in general, most of these moves are fueled by futures. So we can see obviously here, open interest skyrocketing is starting to fall now. Price is stabilizing. Move was driven by the perps, the green, and obviously there were some small spot bids to support the price on this movement upwards. But we can see in general, right, that there was barely any spot bids. We can see obviously here there was massive amounts of spot bids, and obviously when we started distributing around these highs, let's look at what happened. CVD was moving sideways, right? OI was moving a bit sideways, and then eventually massive wick to the downside, and we dropped, right? We're seeing the same similarities on the chart right now. We're seeing that the move is driven by futures longs, right? An element of short squeezes, right? But majority of the move was driven by futures longs, right? It's not by spot. And obviously seeing that OI is dropping, there's leverage leaving the market. Anyways, that's just my two thoughts on the market at the moment. I'm still quite bearish just in general. I don't see any incentive for us to go up. We are not in a bull market. The timing is completely off in terms of cycles. The Bitcoin halving is like, what, 6 months away? So like, just in general, I don't think we're going to go up that further. We could, I mean, the maximum extension for Bitcoin, which I'm expecting, is potentially maybe a retest of this high. But if we do retest this high, we might have some deviation above to around that 28.8, and then we'll probably nuke straight down. But honestly, going to this region is what everybody is expecting now, and that's why I'm kind of leaning to a flash nuke, which nobody expects, right? Is because we saw with news that on this initial wick downwards, everybody was expecting a pump, right, on the news. Everybody was expecting a pump. Instead, the opposite happened: dump, then pump, right? So we're basically taking out both sides, and evidently this wick should get taken around this region again. We didn't really take. We took, well, 27,140 or something, 27,150 region, and obviously after tapping that region, there's still a bunch of liquidity ranging below 27k to 26. 6, 26.7. So like there's a lot of people stops below that region, and obviously comparing what's down here to up here, it's like down here is where everybody is, right? Everybody is getting comfortable in longs, and right now longing is the more comfortable position, right? It's not even shorting at this point, and the uncomfortable position is what normally wins, right? It's not even comfortable shorting, because you could just buy each dip, and every dip it would go up. So right now it's getting very comfortable to long, and I think that's what they're trying to portray throughout the chart, to make people think that they can just keep longing and getting away with it, and then eventually there's going to be a massive wick to the downside, which is going to take out everybody. That's just what I'm expecting at the moment for Bitcoin, Ethereum. Yeah, well, I'm using Bitcoin with my Ethereum Confluence, but this wick looks sus in general. Doesn't look typically that great. It looks like a fucking glitch on TradingView, so it's like doesn't even look like a standard wick. It's quite strange. So I think we're going to fill below eventually, like wick fill 50%, which that would put us around the POI at 27.5. But we still haven't really had any rejection to the downside yet. You see on the 3 hours, just a wick. Well, we see this wick to the upside. Looks like we grabbed liquidity here, wick to the upside, grabbing liquidity around this region, and now we are still like we're moving sideways around this region, so somewhat distributing around these highs. And I mean, if we're going to nuke, it needs to be soon, because the longer we stay around these areas, the more liquidity is going to pile up to the upside, and then we're probably going to go higher. So if we're going to drop, it's going to be right now. Otherwise, we're probably going to do like another wick to 28.1 to 28.2 region eventually. And Sato ruined the fun as well with his fucking 30 Bitcoin short. Fucking idiot. My fractal suggests a dump around the 16th, depending on how next week starts off and what happened next week. I can see that happening, honestly. I can see us moving sideways throughout the weekend, nothing normal, and then just doing it next week. But I kind of hope we do something, because trading in this upper region is just going to be shit. It's going to be terrible. And it's just going to pile on even more shorts if the longer we stay up here. So I'm kind of hoping we like go to like the 27.5 region where we've tested quite a few times and just bounce like this or something, because it's just going to be boring trading above this region over the weekend. I was kind of expecting that before the weekend we'd have some more volatility. Instead of just having a dump and then a pump, we'd have like some more volatility right now, is because we're still in this upper region, and I'm not quite sure how this is going to react over the weekend, as weekend is typically slow in general in terms of where the market is moving. So it's going to be quite shit to trade the weekend if we close around this region. But they're trying to make it look as bullish as possible, right? Quite obvious. I don't really see, like, from a retail perspective, if I'm going to think like, well, I am retail, but you get the point. If I'm going to think to somebody who's not looking at the market as much as me and just looks at the chart, you're probably going to look at this and see, okay, this is a strong candle, we're probably going to go higher. That's just your typical trader, right? Looking at the chart. And I can imagine there are more people who are buying. Small question, what is the difference between 1 day, 1 week, for 24, 12-hour? We see it, the liquidation heat map and coin glass. So, well, obviously they're all different time frames, but some liquidity disappears on the higher time. Why? That's because it's typically less significant, right? So if there's liquidity on the 12-hour and then you flip to the 3-day and it's not there, it means that the liquidity is not as significant as the higher time frame liquidity. And if we compare that, we can obviously see most of the liquidity is nowhere near up. So, like, in terms of algos and everything in general, like, it makes more sense for algos to go down rather than up, right? It wouldn't really make any sense to go up, because that would just be giving everybody exactly what they want. And you can't typically, I wouldn't say you could compare Scalpex to other Discords, because obviously there's a lot more education and everybody is influenced off each other's biases. So we all have found the same bias and agree with each other. So in terms of comparing us to another Discord or counter trade in the chat, it's like it's going to be different. Whereas you compare it to the narrative of people who
on Twitter,
yeah, trading, exactly. It's like it's a complete different board game, where I think most people looking for this next leg up to the upside. And you see, just it, like, don't get me wrong, looking at the chart, we're obviously in an upwards trend. That's just standard. We're obviously in an upwards trend. We see a DX twice at resistance. We see SPX and NASDAQ is bouncing off the trend line. So literally, and we have bullish catalysts, right? We have all of this ETF news flying all over the place, right? So in hindsight, everything looks too bullish. And when that happens, it's normally a fucking trap. And I don't like long in the obvious bullish scenario, right? I look to long when we're bearish. I don't long when we are in this bullish PA. So it just looks too easy to long for me, and I think that's what most people, well, at least what I expect.
Yeah, I mean the opportunity to long was down on the bottom in the lower 1600 handles, at least coming from ETH, or at least if you were going to risk a long, and even then that was a risky long. But if you look at like a 12-hour session, I think I was just mentioning this in Jedi, you can see like this current session and the previous session is completely money man manipulated. Because if you look at the last 12-hour session, that began this uptrend, it opened at 1611.14, I think it was, and the low was the exact same as the open. So that means from the time it opened, it literally just shot all the way up. It takes a lot of money to do that, guys. And then if you look at today's session, from 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, from when we opened, we shot up, then we shot all the way back down to that 610 region, right where they had opened, and then they shot all the way back up to make a new local high. So when you're out there and you're putting your trades, you got to keep this into consideration. Like, Money Man's job is not to make leverage; it's to run stops. It's to collect entries, right? So where the most obvious place that you're going to be putting your long, they're probably going to be targeting it. I use myself as an example. I used 1651 recently in a short that I was using, and that got taken, but then it just retraced right back down. So my 1651 was an obvious stop loss area. Money Man just came in, gobbled it up, and then just retraced right back down. So it's you're gonna hit them, you're gonna lose them sometimes. That's essentially what I'm getting at, but you got to be diligent in knowing what the weather looks like when you're getting into it. They're trying to pull a wool over your eyes, if that makes any sense.
Yep. Where do you want to stream, Saint?
No, I'm doing like multiple things. I was actually gonna call out some coins if you wanted to, because you already had your screen up. I feel my computer already getting laggy, and I don't want to. I don't.
All right.
Yeah, but I mean, maybe towards the end, I'll give it like a recap as far as what I'm looking at for ETH and going into the weekend. I know some people ask, is it going to be boring? Is it going to be flat? I have some pointers on that I'm looking at from a higher time frame that can kind of give you an idea as far as where we should be heading. But in the meantime, do you mind pulling up like Link or anything like that? Link and Solana. Guys, I put inside the chat any coins that you want us to look at specifically.
Right. Well, with Link, I was looking at. Well, I was trying to short it from a higher time frame perspective, but I've never actually hit my entry. It hit a smaller level for this previous high. Well, obviously, this was pretty expected from Link. Break the downwards trend, it's rejecting, and it's going to retest this downwards trend outbreak. So, I mean, let's say theoretically Bitcoin goes down as well, what we're expecting, we can probably expect Link to eventually come down on a hard time frame to have a deep retracement to below 7, right? We're around this region, on these previous highs, bounce off the trend line outbreak. And then if Bitcoin goes up, then we can have a nice propulsion move to the upside. Because at the moment, in terms of who's buying Link, I wouldn't think there is really any big players buying here. If I was going to be entering into a bigger position, I'd be looking to pretty much long the exact breakout or around the trend line breakout, right? I wouldn't be looking to long here or anywhere else. I'd be looking to long at the very bottom, deep retracement, and then it's probably going to have a strong wick to the upside. But in terms of Link on the daily, it does look good for a potential long if it does come back down to here. In terms of lower time frame, well, what's it actually doing? I don't really trade alts on the lower time frame. I just have the higher time frame chart open and then use Bitcoin as my confluence to swing trade alts. But on the lower time frame, it doesn't look like it's really doing anything apart from distributing within this very small range at the moment. We have around here as well, so it looks like a potential lower time frame breakout. Have to see what Bitcoin does as well, obviously, to validate if this is going to be a move to the upside or not. It's because we can either, well, Bitcoin goes to like, I don't know, 28.3 or 28.4, and Link is probably going to do something like this. If it does the other direction, probably going to go back down again and retest, well, at least around this low here. So then kind of lower time frame. Looks like it had a breakout, but we have to use Bitcoin as confluence as well, because typically that's what alts follow in general. Well, at least the top alts do, not the shit coins like TRB.
Speaking of which, can you do Wild WLD?
I think someone brought this up in the last stream.
Mm-hmm. That one should be quick, in honesty. I think I mentioned before I wouldn't touch that. That's not something I would be interested in touching.
Yeah, neither would I, because I don't typically like trading coins like this, really. Well, I mean, we did have this massive steep trend upwards, broke below, bearish retest, back down, retest these previous lows, back up, impulsive move downwards. Looks like we bounced off a smaller level around here. Now we are squeezing back up to the upside. So, I mean, if I was looking at this, obviously these coins in general, I don't know if they're going to correlate with Bitcoin, because some of these coins, they just do their own thing. If we're looking at like Solana, OP, XRP, or any of these other coins, well, XRP is a pretty shit example, but Link, OP, Sol, they will typically correlate whether or not Bitcoin's going up or down. So I'm not sure how this is going to react, but around, well, we could see we have two areas of confluence here on this coin. We have around this region here, and we have, well, we are approaching this downwards trend. So maybe if we were going to be looking for a short, we'd be looking to see if it's going to hold around, well, around this region, to see if it's going to show signs of exhaustion or acceptance below. So like a couple of candles, which are like, how can I explain? Let me see where I could get an example. Like a couple of very compressed candles around this region, to see if there is an obvious area of resistance on the 2-hour time frame. It looks like we are, well, let's look at the 15-minute. Yeah, so around here, we flipped this resistance here. This is probably where a lot of people were looking to short from, taking out their stops, and now it looks like yeah, we are just above it. So we might have some deviation. It depends as well from around here. Probably going to be looking to see if we're going to like maintain this and break out. If that's the case, then probably going to take out these highs. If we don't break out and we hold below, we're probably going to come back down to the well, around this previous level, the 45-minute. But these would be the two scenarios which I'm looking at in general. For WLD, I'd be looking to see if it's going to hold below. If it does, trigger short target around this region. Partials or TP partials. If not, could have a breakout, retest these highs here. They're just, yeah, for WLD.
Solana?
Solana. Well, I trade Solana on the higher time frame, so I'll show you my higher time frame chart. But well, in terms of Solana, we did have this, well, I'd say squeeze, because it kind of was a squeeze to the upside, retesting around these equal highs here. We're obviously experienced some sort of rejection around this region. We did have deviation above the highs. We could see obviously on the daily we had about 1, 2, 3 daily wicks above this, above these previous highs, and now we've broken below. So honestly, I think the market in general, well, at least Solana, the top coins, they're all waiting for what Bitcoin's going to do, right? If Bitcoin is going to go up, there's a probability that this is going to get reclaimed, and we're going to retest these range highs, which, well, around this region previously, where there has been a constant area of rejection. But if Bitcoin goes downwards, I'm expecting Solana to eventually retest around this 20.16 region, just on the higher time frame. And the reason why I trade the higher time frame for also not the lower time frame, because obviously the levels are more significant for me. And let's say, I don't know, Bitcoin's at 26.7 and Solana's at 21.6. I can know that, okay, so Bitcoin can bounce around that region, so can Solana. I'm trigger long on both. So in terms of confluence, what I'd be looking for Solana, if it continues to maintain below these previous highs, obviously this wick is deviation, and we've had a daily candle closure below, it seems like we are just retesting the equal highs again. So we had deviation, we're retesting the highs. I actually need to go on the lower time frame for this. So we'll use my higher time frame levels instead of lower time frame. But we can see here, obviously, these wicks distribution above, deviation, broken below the equal highs, had some daily candle closures below, and it just looks like they're retesting the equal highs. So if we hold below the equal highs, we potentially have shorts all the way back down to the next area. I would TP partials on these lower time frame areas if you're trading a lower time frame. But honestly, I would be looking maybe at 21.6 for Solana if Bitcoin breaks down. Right? If Bitcoin doesn't break down, then we can probably expect another unexpected wick to the upside for Solana around here. And if that's the case, then I'll be looking for shorts at around 25.3 for Solana. But yeah, that's Solana.
AVAX.
AVAX. Okay.
Then
I
then
had
one more after that.
all right. I had some spot buys on AVAX at like $9 something. That was some good buys, but well on the daily, let's go to the lower time frame here, or the 2 hour. Honestly, I'm seeing quite a lot of people on Twitter try to short this as well because it has been one of the weaker coins. And honestly, I think that the only area which I would really consider shorting from is probably around this 11, 16 region. I don't think anything else really interests me in general. Like, I mean, we are around this
That looks like it's gonna go
high.
higher. I mean, that
Yeah, yeah,
formation is a scallop bottom. That looks like it's gonna go higher.
yeah. It looks like it could squeeze a bit higher, obviously, but I don't know. I feel like it's going to start rejecting maybe around this upper region rather than reject from here. Um, Most of my TA is just based off what Bitcoin is doing. So, like, I'm expecting Bitcoin to reject. I'm probably expecting AVAX to maybe retest middle range and then leg up if
Yeah, yeah.
Bitcoin holds to like there rather than that. But I don't know. If Bitcoin goes parabolic, then we might just sweep the high first and then come back down on a big drop to the downside for AVAX. But I mean, what I'd be looking at for AVAX is potentially, well, the only level I would consider shorting is probably here, but you'd want to observe how the price is reacting around here, right? Around this 10.9 region. If there is an obvious change of character on the lower time frame, is struggling to break through, but obviously this isn't really a significant level to me. It doesn't really look that this is going to be that significant. So I wouldn't really even short here. I'd be looking maybe for the sweep of this previous high here.
Yeah.
And there's probably going to be a lot of liquidity
Yep.
built up on this wick, so probably going to blast through it, then drop and it accept below, and then trigger into a short to around. So I'll be looking at potentially where's the. I would have my risk maybe like this for AVAX, and I wouldn't have a limit. I would wait, say it does this, right? I'll wait to see if it's going to close below here. If it does, then I will trigger into a short and then I'll target like around this level. I'm not going to put a limit here, get wicked out, and then it will come back down eventually.
Yeah.
So I'll probably just wait for AVAX at around 11.17, but it could have some lower time frame rejection around the local highs it's currently at, and then it could retest. Well, we hope a smaller level here, which hasn't been tested. And if we look on the lower time frame, we're probably showing, we're probably going to retest around 10.45 for AVAX if Bitcoin drops a little bit. Bitcoin has a deeper retracement, then probably going to come back down to around this region. Like, I have Bitcoin programmed in my mind right now, so if Bitcoin goes down to like 27.6 or 27.7, I'm expecting AVAX to be here. If it goes down to like 27.5, 27.4, I'm expecting it to be here. So it's like, because I'm trading Bitcoin, it's like I have the price of where I'm expecting alts to be around that time period.
Last one, OP.
OP. I do not have anything drawn for OP actually. I just have some massive swing play. Let me load a new chart. OP. Let me look at the daily first. I need to see where the positioning is. All right.
I'm gonna age myself. You ever heard of that song you done with OPP? No.
Nope.
Oh man. Okay. That's gonna be your homework for the night. Naughty by nature. OPP.
Let me put it.
Time to start wrapping up your work.
Oh.
Planning for dinner.
Yeah, this call just crashed on me again.
Booty.
You can stream if you want, or
Yeah.
to do that.
No. I will I will try to cringe through this simply because I already feel the delay, but this should be interesting. So I think somebody was asking like, hey, what about weekends? Weekends typically boring for the most part, just because your institutional big money players, they're not in, right? They're not trading in the markets because the markets are not really moving during the weekends. Crypto does have the opportunity to move, yes, because it's 24 hours, 7 days a week. But for the most part, your big players are not in on the weekends. That doesn't mean that you don't have any type of movements that you can be tracking. So what I've been looking at is a 2-week. That's really where I've been mapping out some of my ideas. Actually, let me just go over here. And then I think I had you on. Yeah, I can already feel that delay. Is it lagging on your guys' side?
No, it looks fine to me. There's a little bit of like.
There we
jitter
go. Yeah, there
on
you
the
go.
mouse.
Yeah, there we go. Okay. So, I've been looking at ETH, a specific area that it needs to claim, and which could also promote for like a push up to that area and get a hard rejection. 1668 is that number. So when I'm looking at a 2-week time frame in the sense of session, I have 2 days left in that, which means Saturday could be boring, but Sunday could be setting up for a move going into Monday, meaning a fake out. Usually most Mondays are going to be fake outs. What I would be looking for shorts somewhere in 1668. If it holds and pushes through, then I'm looking at this area over here, 1692 to 1703, as far as like an open, and then I would be looking for maybe a retest down over here in this area. Now, if it holds the 1668 and we don't get any hard retracements beyond where we're at right now, 1640s, 1633 is really the sweet spot that I'm looking at. Then we should have a parabolic move straight up to here. And again, this is on a higher time frame. You're looking at the liquidity here in this area. This is the pocket that I'm looking at, that I'm focusing on. We had 6 weeks of downtrend. We kind of bottomed out here, and we're riding on this support area here. The opportunity to break through that was down over here. And even when we retraced over the last 2 weeks since, we haven't breaking any new lows. So what I'm getting at is this trend line can still be tested. And that's what I'm looking at going into the following week, next week, right? I wanted it the other way around. I wanted us to close in the next 2 days above 1668, then open, and then we move up. But it looks like my push to this area is going to be delayed, more likely towards the end of October, like around October 24th, 16th. That's when I would anticipate a move up, if we are going to move up. If we don't claim 1668, then obviously we have a high potential of moving down. And my target for the downside was in November, and that's going to be somewhere around like a 1200 benchmark. But like I said, if we don't reclaim this 1668 within the next 2 days and then rolling into the next 2-week session, then that kind of promotes this opportunity for this to happen right here. Now, what I'm looking at for to give me confluence is I'm kind of looking at where the strength and the trend is at. A lot of you guys know I like to follow a DMI, and using that same narrative that it can go either way. That's kind of what the DMI is telling me right here. This pink line, that's bearish control, and then this aqua line is bullish control. Right now there's bearish control since we've had a 6-week downtrend, but right now we have some recovery from bulls. Neither one of them are in a dominant position because we're under 25, which promotes the opportunity for someone to strike, meaning someone can push up above and try to hold dominance, if that makes any sense. The reason why I'm stepping that out is because they're both coming to an area where they're going to kiss, and two things are going to happen. It's either DM negative is going to separate, So you're going to see a huge deviation from that. It's going to have a huge markup to the upside, which would follow with large wicks down. So then this 1200 area is going to come to fruition. The other side of that would be is if DM negative comes down and then this DM positive comes up, although that may seem pumpy, that could be the fake out where we can get a strong leg all the way up to here, 1923, could come in lower. There's 1873 areas and 1825s as well too that offer levels of resistance. But I'm going as far as the top, right? If we're going to go and really test and have a breakdown, it makes more sense coming from here just based on that liquidity. So if I see that, if I see this DM come up and cross over, that doesn't tell me that bulls are in control. That just means that they're trying to assert dominance, but they don't have any strength. All they have behind them is momentum. When you have momentum behind that, that is 9 times out of 10 going to be your retail side. That's most people buying dips. And then it just keeps pushing up. And this is going to form a trap, guys, right? Because we have to clear 1923 to break this structure. So anything in between where most traders are at, they're trading a 4 hour, a 1 hour, a 30-minute. So they're going to get a lot of confusion. Like, oh, this is going to the moon. This is going to the moon. We're going to cross 1800. We're going to the moon. Same thing when we get to 1900 levels. That's kind of what we're going to see. I think the stream messed up. Hold on. I was talking the whole time, but that part wasn't recording on that side. That's fine. It's fixed. So there's 2 key levels, right? I don't want to fire hose you because I know Killa did a great job in going over ETH and BTC. But the 2 key levels that I'm focusing on is 1633. And I'm really monitoring that from a lower time frame, like I think it was a 4 hour that I've been on. Actually, no, I'm sorry. I'm on a 90-minute. Right, it's this level right over here. Right, I want to see a bounce from here, between now going into Saturday. If we clip underneath here 1627, then the idea, or at least the theory of us reclaiming 1668 just gets that much further away from us. So just going down to a multiple time frames, lower time frame from a 2 week, going down to a 4 hour, and really trying to find that area, that specific area that if it doesn't hold, we're going to Goblin Town. It's going to be 1627. If we can hold above that, right? If we can hold above and float around in this area right here, 1632. I think it was a 12 hour that I was monitoring for this one. Yeah, it's right over here. All right, so something to take note on. Yeah, this is the session I was talking about earlier. Like if you come over to your data window, you can see when it opened and when it closed. Stop. Thank you. 1611.14 and 1611.14. Yeah, so open and close on this candle. So that's an unmitigated candle. What I'm looking at and what I'm speculating is these candles represent recovery. They represent recovery from this downslide. At the same token, we have a change of character on a higher time frame, a 12 hour. So anytime you have a change of character, you're usually going to have some type of pullback. This could be that pullback. That's what we're monitoring. If this is the pullback and we're going to have continued downside, then under 1627, that would tell us we're going to have more downside. But if we retrace and we hold this area right here from where it closed, which is like 1633, we should have more upside. Naturally, when I see long wicks like this, they're going to have to be filled, meaning I would see price action come and revisit this area and maybe even chop to the right. That is the probability if we get to, let's say just under 1633. This is over this the span of the weekend, right? Like not just this session, but the next 2 sessions or a couple sessions. If we start to have closes underneath 1633, we're moving lower. It's important that we hold that area if we're going to be able to move higher. And then the next major level for me that I'm tracking just to move up to see if we're going to have any type of effery, if you will. It's 1665, I believe it is. No, I was on a 4 hour. And I think I was playing with a 200 EMA and a. I'm surprised you guys can't see and feel that delay. It's mind-boggling to me. Yeah, it's right over here. It's the 100 EMA. And typically when you have EMA crossovers, if your 200 is just very simple. If your 200 is above your 100, that's bearish. If you have your 100 crossing up over your 200, then it's bullish. We don't have curvature, if you will, to the upside, right? So EMA is not curving up yet on this time frame, which is a 12-hour. So this could offer as a level of resistance that most people are not going to be paying attention to. If I come down to a 4-hour, just keeping EMAs in mind, right? It's barely noticeable, but we had a straight line, a little bow, and then it's flattened out. And if you look real close, you can see that it's curving up. So the other side of that, right? If one side on a higher time frame is going to offer it as rejection, can it offer it as support? And this is where we want to make sure that it doesn't offer as support and that it has continued to move down. Because right now your EMA is above your 100, even on a lower time frame. So it is still going to be bearish. You can notice also that we haven't closed above the 200 EMA as well, too. So it's just an additional indicator and tool that you can use on a fly if you're looking for resistance areas and support areas. The targets that I'm looking at right now, if everything comes to fruition on these lower time frames, I 100% want to see this area retested, 1610 from where we broke out from, because remember that's the unmitigated area. There's liquidity way down beneath that. So if we can crack into this area, then we definitely have a good shot of getting into a larger liquidity pool, which is in the 1598, I believe, down to 1576. Where did I put you? Are you here? Yeah, there you are. Right here, this box right here. If it would click on it, that would be great. There we go, 1597 to 1579, like I mentioned. Any questions? All right. Somebody asked for lit. I will struggle to get through that.
Oh yeah, I thought Ryan wanted to look at OP. I didn't cover it because I streamed.
Your computer pooped. It's all good.
Yeah.
So, just carrying off the same note in regards to EMAs, I'm on a lower time frame, so it's not the strongest idea, but just kind of give you an idea. Right now, you have a 100 EMA that's crossing down, so therefore, I consider this EMA guidance. What I mean by that is that price action will run up to a specific EMA. It can be, the shorter the time frame, the more steep the move down is going to be. So, like if you're getting rejected off of a 7-day EMA, that's a faster move. You're going to expect more rejection with bigger thrust. As I get higher in time frames, in EMA time frames, not chart time frames, but EMA time frames, like a 50 or 100, they offer more stable data in that sense, meaning it could tap that area several times and you'd be more safe, if that makes any sense. What I'm getting at is on your 100 EMA, there's curvature to the downside. Still hasn't crossed over the 100 yet to make it completely bearish, but it looks like it's forming its way down to do so. I would look at this from a 2-week because that looks like it wants to go down. I mean, I think you can map this all the way from the top. It hasn't. It's trying for its life to break this structure. You guys get the idea. There's a lag on my side, so it's not going to be pretty or precise as much as I wanted to. There we go. Stop. I would go with the falling 3 to be honest with you, right? Because you have your large body candle. You can have 3 to 4 candles in between. 1, 2, 3, 4. And just for confirmation, you can see if that's what it's going to measure out. Lock in. Thank you. Give me. Am I tripping? I'm tripping. Hold on.
Let me see.
It's
It's
such-
like a slight delay. Very slight.
yeah, it's streaming and doing everything at once on the
What,
computer.
stream and recording and everything.
Stream, record, use live charts because it pulls in live data. Discord open is in the sense of screen share. So yeah, my PC's like, bro, like you're gonna have to back off.
Cook an egg on it.
Oh, it sounds like it's about to take off. It's like, thank you for boarding Air Data. Thank you for boarding. So look, right, all I did is I measured this large candle, this large cell candle, and what I'm looking for are 3 more candles, 3 to 4 candles. So don't let the name fool you. Falling 3 doesn't have to just be 3. It can also be a matte hold too. Sometimes if it's 4 or 5 candles and it's stretched out a little bit longer, but right off the bat, this is falling 3. You take your measurement. Once I get to my 3rd or 4th candle, it's the same body, same length. You can see that right there. Should get the same thing over here. I would just be careful with that because you're now asking for a 3rd one. I don't see why not. Just because there's a ton of liquidity right here, so I could also see it coming up to here if it wanted to, if it just wanted to take everybody out. But this is the pattern that I would be looking for. I'd be looking to short somewhere here in this area. I would look on open. So like if it opens and it starts pushing to the downside, do not short that. Don't short that, right? Wait for it to make its move up and it stops out right where it's going to top out. It should top out around here. If it goes above this right here, then it's invalid. Then my stop loss would be slightly above that. Then the pattern would be invalid. I can get a wick. I can get a wick up to that area, but I'm looking for closing, meaning if I get a close in this area, then it's going to be invalid. So I'd look to short that to that area. This is a continuation pattern, so I would maybe look in taking TPs here in this area. You might get a nice little bit more of a leg down here, creating a double bottom, or maybe just above that. And I would obviously look to start long in that. That's where my hedge entry would be for that. That's what I would look for. What was the other one? OP. Sorry.
Yeah, that was it.
It looks like a symmetrical coming in. That's some serious rejection though. Oh, that's kind of... yeah, let's look at it like this. Are you going to be nice? Thank you. Stop. Oh my gosh.
I can imagine that is so annoying.
It's bro,
Oh my god.
it's hard. It's hard. It's hard. There we go. I would actually maybe even move this up because this just looks like a liquidity grab here, and then there's more manipulation here in this area here. So essentially, for every thrust that we're getting, you're getting served right back down to making round trips essentially, but you're not making new lows. But you are losing strength in the sense of moving up. If you want to unclick on this screen and show me my other indicators, that'd be great. Thank you. There you go. I would have to look at this maybe even lower. I would go to maybe like a 16-hour. So extreme volatility. Did I map this out already once? Wow, I have a pattern here. Yeah, look at that. I did map this once before. Yeah, if this area gets taken, I don't see why a visit down to here wouldn't make any sense. That was on a 2-week, so yeah, you have EMA crossovers, which are pretty damn bearish, and this is on a higher time frame. It's a 16-hour. They're starting to deviate, which means your 100 EMA is coming down lower, while your 200 is still kind of remaining idle. There's rejection off of that. It's been rejected off of that before. It's thrust through, but it's finding rejection there. But I don't like the strength in who's trying to assert dominance, meaning like there's so much wiggle room down here for a massive thrust, because when this ADX represents strength. So whomever establishes dominance, right? Like, so whoever gets someone's back, right? If you're thinking in wrestling terms, if you get someone's back, you're in a dominant position. Or if you get the top, you're in a dominant position, right? Whoever claims that position, they just need to wait for this ADX to move up. I mean, not even a lot, just a little bit, and you're going to see massive candles. Massive candles. So what I would be following on this, if I'm bearish, I want to make sure that on a higher time frame, 16, 24, 2-day time frame, that I notice that DM negative remains in control and just kind of staying there. What you'll more likely see is you'll see a lot of volatility, like these two lines just kind of, I'm doing it with my hands, you can't see it, but crisscrossing. So you'll see a lot of volatility, stops getting ran and then pushing the other way. So that is something that you could be seeing a lot of. If I was going to short this, honestly, I'd look to short somewhere around, because I can't use a trend line on this because the trend lines are just so wonky, even on a 16-hour, and it's just creating these little pockets. Right, this looks like a mat hold. It's kind of an idea of what I was talking about earlier. It looks like a falling 3, but you have like several candles in between. Moves up, moves down, then moves up, moves down, with equal moves down. So it's more of a mat hold. Some people would also refer to it as like a staircase, but this staircase is more in a U shape versus going down in that shape. So that could change, right? That could change. RSI needs to come up just a little bit, just because it's crossing that oversold. But like if your RSI was somewhere right around here, oops, that's way too damn high. If your RSI was like around 49, 48, maybe even 50, that would be enough strength, and your DM negative was above, that would signify there's enough candle strength for the next couple candles to push this thing down. If your RSI crosses over 50 and then your DM positive crosses over, then it's probably going to try to push even higher, which it's probably going to try to come to visit these areas right here. Stop. 1.78. I think this was like 2 weeks ago when I mapped this. So from the last 2 weeks when I did map this, this was the high. We clearly haven't broken that since, and we've been in a downtrend since then. This area, this trend line is going to be super important for, see if it acts as support. If it doesn't, there's nothing beneath it, guys. There's nothing here. you maybe have this one level right here. Oh my god. Stop. .63. Yeah, 0.631. That offers one more level of support before it goes to Goblin Town. Are you laughing at my pain? Someone's laughing at my pain. But that's what I got. I'm just going back to ETH just because I'm in positions and I want to have my charts open. You guys have any other questions? Anything we can go over, touch on for you guys? Killer, I don't know if you saw this, and I don't know if you had already answered this, but someone had asked if there was a difference in using the like 12-hour, 24-hour, 1 day with the heat maps for on CoinGlass. Did you answer that?
Oh yeah, I said something like how, like based on the higher time frame, like on the lower time frame, the liquidity is visible and it's not visible on the higher time frame. It's less significant. So like the higher the time frame you go, if the lower time frame areas of liquidity don't appear on the higher time frames, and that means pretty much they are not as significant as the liquidity which is on the higher time frame. So if you go on the 12-hour, for instance, on CoinGlass, you'll see some liquidity on the lower time frame, and then if you flip to like I don't know the highest time frame being the 3 day, the liquidity will be completely different in terms of what where the most liquidity is going to be. So it differentiates in terms of how much is in between a certain level.
Roger. Roger.
I mean, the only thing which is kind of concerning me at the moment is that number one, Sato is short. Number two, there's just been liquidity which is piled up in the middle of fucking nowhere at 28.3, and that's kind of concerning me because like 28.3, and then there's liquidity at the previous high as well, and the longer we stay here, it's just.
I think we'll move. I think we'll have a good move down. To be honest with you, just I'm looking on a 2-day right now. I mean, we didn't break that from when we initially dumped from, which is around the 1658 area. You know, knock on wood, they still have a day and 3 hours left on that, but could still see a massive dump between now and tomorrow. To be honest with you, even though it's coming into the weekend. What is this?
That would be lovely.
That would be fantastic.
28.3 is my top for Monday, expecting Asia to run, fill, take orders, place price into weekend lows. Yeah, I could see that happening. I could see maybe a sweep in the Monday high at 28.3. That's quite common, actually. You always revisit there and then just dump afterwards. I can see that happening.
Yeah, there's so many different possibilities right now. So 4 hour. So just kind of brain dumping, right? Like on a 4 hour, because I think for me a 4 hour is like the lowest time frame that I would feel comfortable using a setup on. I've used other lower time frames for setups that add confluence to higher time frame setups. But the reason I'm specifying the 4 hours is just because it's that middle of the road. And I even use quirky ones like 330 minutes, which is just a little bit more time frame. Anyways, what I'm looking for is the trend, right? Usually when I have the DMI starting to cross over, it is a good indicator in the sense of time frame to let me know that there's a reversal working in the market right now. And right now I don't have a change in the trend. Yes, this is a bullish trend over here, but let's be honest, guys. We have to break above 1668 just to break this whole move down. And what I mean by that is we actually have to close above that 1668. Each candle right now is losing strength from this move up that we've had since yesterday and today over the last 24 hours. So as we're getting towards the wee hours, those candles are losing strength. more money is still piling into the market. So that tells us that there's liquidity that's going to be formed here in this area, buyer liquidity. So if you have more money coming in, but you're losing strength in your candles, what does that tell you? It's rhetorical, but there's deviation. It's going to go in the opposite direction. It's the same thing with your trend. Your trend just showed you, hey, I've lost some momentum. I'm kind of taking a nap right now. I've lost a little bit of strength because I'm a little tired. I'm exhausted. I've been doing this for 6 weeks straight. Actually, now if you look on an hourly one, what is that? Push the price down from where? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 20, 21. 21 sessions on a 4-hour. So that's why you're seeing that it's laying that, because it's been pushing the price for 21 sessions down. And it still hasn't broken a high. Now it's focusing on trying to keep the price lower. So all that needs to happen next is for us to see legs, is the white ADX to just pick its nose up. That's what we want to see. If that DM, that positive, starts to cross down, that could be an issue for shorts. I think some of us are hedged from 1610 and 1649. So I'm specifying that because if you're looking to add to your long, don't mess up your average to where you're averaging above 1633. If you're already at 1630 or what have you, and you're already average at 1633, just pause. Because adding more to it can just run, let's say you set your stop to break even because you've been adding, it pushes down to your stop loss, and then it just fires right back up. So just heads up on your longs. And then for your shorts, I think Killa hit it on the head with this one. He's like, your shorts are going to feel very uncomfortable right now because everyone is majority bullish because of the move that we've had. But we're cut from a different breed. We look at different things. We understand that there's different motives that are involved. I kind of called it out in this stream, and even yesterday, it was like the session before just opened up and just went straight up. That doesn't happen on retail. So somebody else is involved in the market right now. But yeah, your shorts, you got to hold on to them. You got to kind of tough them out. And if you have a hedge, then yeah, you can run a stop and then look for a higher entry. That's essentially what I did. I ran a short at 49 and I had a tight stop loss at 51, and then I re-entered at 53. And just know, if you guys are going to hedge, just when you are adding to your hedge, take profits. Like, take profits in the same location of where you're going to be hedging. That doesn't make any sense for you to hedge and not take profits at the same time. Because then you're essentially fading yourself. You're saying, I'm going to short this position, but I'm not going to take any profits. Well, if I know this is the peak and this is the reason why I'm hedging, then I should also be taking profits. And if I'm wrong, no problem. I took profits and I can always add that back in, right? Maybe my average moves up at the worst, but the last thing you want to do is open up a hedge, hold on to it, and not take profits on the other one, round trip the other one, then hold on to your short and just do the same cycle. Take profits. I can't stress that enough. You could always add back in.
I had a short yesterday at 28k, and then I'm awake for like fucking 20 hours a day. The moment I sleep, the move happens. And then it dumps to 21. Well, yeah, 27 150. It TPs me partials, and then I wake up to fucking nearly a round trip short, and I'm like, what the fuck has just happened on this wick?
Oh yeah, today, yeah. I saw that today. I mean, I took profit at 16.24, and then I continued to hold, and then I was like, wow, this is really gonna push all the way down. I'm glad I took profit, and then I added back in once we got up to like, I think it was like 16.27, that halfway mark for me. So it averaged me up, but yeah, that wasn't fun this morning for anybody on both sides.
Yeah, for sure. Pretty much destroyed most people, but I think longs benefited more than shorts on this move.
Yes, they
for
did.
Sure.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
You could have longed pretty much anywhere and you would have been in profit
Mm-hmm.
before the drop.
Yeah, I was saying that. I was like, you guys could have ran. I think I gave a call from 1612 down to 1609. You could have ran that play twice. I think I had TPs at 1624. So obviously leaving some money on the table, but that's why you leave a moon bag behind. So in the event that that does happen, you have something that you can add back to average yourself up. But you know, if anybody was plugged in at the time, you could have ran that play twice. All in a day's work. So I think I TP'd a little bit over 400 on that so far, and it's been just one session, not even a full 12 hours yet.
Solid game.
Yeah. Well, I did 1700 on my short.
Oh yeah, I saw that. That was a solid short. I had a short on Ethereum as well on that initial wick at 1740s, and I fucking closed it at 1720 something. I shouldn't have done that because you see, I entered on stream whilst it was doing that massive parabolic move to the upside, and it was like squeezing everybody out of their position. And I was like, it might revisit, so fuck that. It didn't revisit.
Yeah, no. I wanted to. I thought it was going to revisit 1754. That's what I was aiming for, but yeah, these last two candles, it just said nope, rope.
Exactly, just straight dump.
Yeah, we need some more of that. Hila, do you want to add anything else? Are you still going?
Oh, I'm good. I think covered most of everything needed to be covered.
Roger. Same on my side. You guys know I'm an ETH head, so those are my thoughts. But yeah, you guys hit us up. I mean, I think some of you guys that are VIP, you guys have access to specific channels. Myself and Killer are both heavily invested in there as far as maybe answering questions as much as we can about setups and plays. Those folks that are in Jedi, you guys already know how we roll. But if you guys have any other questions or anything that pops up, coin related or setups related, just hit us up in the chats. I'm more than happy to help.
Yep. Where is Valorant? He seems to have disappeared.
Doing that granddad stuff.
He's probably asleep.
Está durmiendo. He's probably napping. No, I know he had a busy day. Huh?
Yeah, he did. Should wrap it up then,
Yeah.
All right.
All right, guys. Thank you all for coming out. See you guys next week, same time.
Yep. See you guys.
Peace.